I know. No, I brought, and I learned that last time. Live in the desert. Yeah. Uh, Although, six of us. I'm just looking at the Zoom. If you didn't come, you would have this, or it's mandatory to come. It's mandatory that we come, right, Patty? However, the public can attend on and Sarah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I have a question for you. I know. They are inside.
I wonder if that's because Cindy's doing the clinics today and tomorrow, and then she knows. Somebody just didn't put in where we wanted to put in. I didn't do it, I swear. No, no, not that I'm aware of.
Comfortable food.
Cool.
I've had a couple people call me.
Oh, and that's in.
Broken. I think we're still working through all the details, whatever. Dave is not coming. Sorry to get your question on the banner. So Mary always ordered them for me. I didn't do anything.
Oh,
with
I
it.
thought
And
you
she
said, okay, when you said Staples did them, I.
had- Staples did the post. Mary does the banner.
Okay, got it. She has a place.
She's got a place that she likes
okay.
to do the posters. I'm
Okay.
sorry, the banners. And the posters, I just got it Staples.
All right. Well, we can talk about if we want to do posters or not. Just questioning. if we would.
Yay, we have a quorum.
Well, I'm sure we'll.
Fine.
How are
Were
you?
we judging you, John? I'm sorry. No. Not. Otherwise, people start judging me.
We say we can't judge each other.
No, we can't.
We can judge only ourselves.
So David cannot be
I don't
here
like that
tonight.
idea.
Are the mics on? Sarah, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Oh, are we recording?
Hello, everybody.
We always, it's a standard town thing, Brown Act.
No, I didn't know we'd officially started the meeting.
As soon as I sign into Zoom, it starts the recording.
Okay.
Why did you, was there something you didn't want Sarah to hear?
She could hear everything, but I
Somebody said
was.
donuts? Somebody said donuts. No,
You want, okay, Lindsay, you can bring donuts next time. Lindsay and I were saying, this is like the first meeting we've had where it hasn't been like dark and stormy outside. Okay, well, this, maybe nobody will show up. What if you had a meeting and nobody showed up? Okay, I'm calling the meeting to order at 7:32. We have a quorum. We have Carrie, John, Lindsay, Karen, and myself. That represents a quorum. We have Sarah on Zoom, and we have no other people in attendance. Nobody's on Zoom? Nobody's on Zoom. Like I say, it might be a short meeting. Shall we just get some votes going and get out of here? Okay, all right, I got it. Since we're at least under the Brown Act, for one more meeting. we should do this one. Okay, are there any oral communications from anybody from the public for items that are not on the agenda? I see any hands. Is there a hand in the back? There's a hand in the back. Speak up. I'll let the record show there was no oral communication. Sarah, are we getting in trouble for this? You're not even listening. Okay,
I'm
People have
listening.
been-
I don't know. I didn't know it because you're joking around. Of course not. Got to have some fun while you're volunteering.
approval of minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I move we approve the minutes of good.
I had some questions. And this is a process question, because I noticed it in some other minutes. Do we need to say who was here? Well, this just pertains to Sarah being on Zoom. Does that need to be reflected, or is it okay otherwise? But usually it shows who's there on Zoom and who's in person. I'm just questioning it because I've seen it in other minutes. I don't
know.
care.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. And the other thing is that on the parking at Rosati's, and we can continue to talk about it, but we had found out that there was an agreement between the town and Zots for the parking. And I was wondering if we wanted that reflected in the minutes.
Well, that's not something new. I mean, that agreement has always been in effect.
Okay.
I mean, I can certainly say that,
It was new to me, but
Okay.
if it wasn't new to anybody
no,
else.
it's,
They actually do still try to do. Gives them a little more leverage. So in parking.
okay.
And essentially what I was, yeah, sorry. That if the minutes just reflected that we were, we requested information on the agreement between the town and Zoc. That was essentially the thing I remembered, but that was because I asked.
I can certainly add that. That's a good add.
You do have it all. then.
Hey, Patty, I can't hear any speakers. I can hear Karen a little bit better than everybody else, but can't make out other than you.
Microphone's working.
You,
Okay, we will-
they are, you just got to talk into them.
Yeah, I know, these microphones, we have to talk directly
Yeah,
into.
you
the
have to be like
microphone.
right in. You can hear me now then. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes, I can.
You really
Thank
have
you.
to put your,
Thank you, Sarah.
Yes, I can hear you when it's real close like that. Thank you.
Okay, great. So the minutes, we're going to amend the minutes to reflect that we are going to be getting more information about the agreement between the town and Zots.
Works for me.
You have a second then?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
The vote was unanimous. I'm not going to make a roll call because it's unanimous. Okay, moving along. We have new business. Okay, these are things that have been brought to my attention. So discuss court maintenance. I was going to move right to court usage, but I don't see anybody on Zoom, so I'm going to keep going until somebody shows up. Court maintenance status, cracks relining, and all sports notifications. These are just some maintenance items I just wanted to point out. There has been, it's pointed out that because of the rain this year, the cracks in the tennis court are getting worse. So I have already had a conversation with Howard, and he's gonna have his guys come out and take a look at it. They have been fixed once, but he agrees that they probably need to be fixed again. So we're gonna be looking at the cracks. The plexiglass board is missing. I have put a PV Connect ticket in to replace the plexiglass announcement board so that we can keep current announcements and everything up there. And then I know we talked about, and we may want to table this, relining the all sports court, which I just kind of included as part of its maintenance, but I know it's kind of part of the skateboard ramp and everything else. So
But if they are going to redo the courts, including the all sports court, or if they have to resurface it, that would be a great time. to
that's
reline it.
possible. Yeah. If
Right.
if they feel like the cracks are bad enough that they have to resurface, then yes, we should have a definite discussion about relining.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, even if they're going to just try to fix the cracks, it might be just a time to go out there.
Okay.
That's-
Then I guess we would have to decide how we wanted to reline the all sports court.
To get the paddle ball line.
No. We have,
but we have to look at that. I think we discussed this, right? And
speak directly into microphone.
they're not that far off from the pickleball, aren't they? Aren't they kind of close to the
I
pickleball line?
don't know.
Look at it.
But we could look at it. Yeah. There are other things that needed to be added, I think, for paddleball, but anyway, let's just table this until we have more information, and then maybe about how much maintenance is going to be needed on the courts. Is that all right? Nod? Okay.
Yep.
All right. Second, part of new business review and discuss committee membership. Just as a background, there was a person about 4 or 5 months ago that expressed interest in joining the committee. She happened to be a Ladera resident, so I was told at that time that Ladera residents were not eligible to serve on committees. I have since learned that that is not the case. It is up to the individual committee to make the decision about whether they want to add residents from our sphere of influence, as they call Ladera. So I called the person.
It's like the Ukraine sphere of influence.
Sphere of
I mean, that's-
influence.
that's
It's
really good
actually in
term.
the general plan. I've read the general plan. Don't ask me. So I talked to the person yesterday, and she is still, I explained the situation to her. She's still very much interested in joining the committee. She's retired. She has a dog. She uses our trail system. She uses our facilities. She comes to the town picnic. She's just very interested in getting more involved in the community and seeing how she can help out. I thought she was a good add. Her name was Mary Ann Babcock. If you know. Berkowitz, sorry. I'm thinking back. Mary Ann Berkowitz. She's been in the community. I don't have a committee membership thing here in front of me, but she's been here, years and years. Her kids went up to these schools, well, not these schools because they're Menlo Park schools, but she's been in the community. So anyway, it's up to us as a committee to vote on whether we want to put forth her name. She would still need to be approved by the town council. It's usually just a rubber stamp. But if it's something, if you want to have a discussion about, if you wanted me to, circulate her membership application, if you wanted to open it up to Ladera residents. If anybody's going to speak, they have to speak into the microphone.
I think it's okay to have somebody from there.
I do too. Again, I think we've said before, it's not Ladera that's the issue. We just need doers. People who
Doers.
really participate.
We
not
need
just-
doers.
Right. Yes. Somebody that will help you with the town picnic.
I would like help with the town picnic, yes.
And trivia night.
And trivia night and dog park and trivia night. Trivia night.
One night sounds good too, though. Maybe that'll be the problem.
Okay, so I'm hearing a general agreement.
Yeah.
That we would be open to a Ladera resident. Does that mean that we want to put forth Mary Ann's name for membership? Or do you want to look at her application before we vote on it?
come and introduce yourself? Or she should come and introduce herself?
You can do that. I think the process is kind of up to us. Would you like to have her attend maybe the next meeting and just introduce herself?
Sure, that sounds fine. I think I've asked this question before. Our charter right now is for 7 members. Is that correct? So if she joins, we've got 7. Okay.
We can
That's
always
great.
increase, we can always.
We could always increase it
Yes,
because
we
I
can.
do think that it would be wonderful to have somebody on the Parks and Rec committee that is involved and at the courts over there, probably someone from pickleball, but just so we have someone representing the group here.
I agree with you. I've actually think we should add that person as well, and then if we need to do that. We
Can I
can go back
comment
and
on that
add
real quick? Because
the
I did
charter.
ask Mike Chan, right? Just talked to him tonight, and he would actually like to join, but he can't. He's got a major event he's planning in August. And so wants to start in late August, which would be helpful for, volunteering for some things, not playing. But again, that gives us enough time to even, kind of go and expand and food to kind of go to.
Okay, so I'm hearing general agreement that we're open to Ladera, people from the sphere of influence joining the committee. And that I will invite Mary Ann to the next committee meeting. Which I think would be good because she can hear what's going on and things like that. And we will go from there. Everybody nodding head. I don't think any of my
You've
friends-
checked it, right? Because I mean, we can look at the application, but you feel like this would be a good person to add, correct?
I did. Yeah, I had a good conversation with her. I see Cindy's joined. Cindy, we're just gonna do one more thing and then we'll go to the court. So I did want to discuss the budget proposal for 2023, 2024. I did send out to you what I had put together. I selected to make a copy of for myself.
I have one here I can share with you. Yeah, do you want me to, why don't I read it too?
Oh, wait, I found
Because
it. I found
you
mine.
found it?
I found mine. Okay, so last year we had a budget approved of $27,000, which was $22,000 for the picnic and $5,000 for Zots. We spent about $21,000. The breakdown you can see there, $16,000 in the picnic, $6,000 in Zots, offset by about $3,500 in registration fees. And then we're anticipating that we're going to spend about $2,000 in trivia night. That's the $21,000. So you can see we're going to end up with a surplus this year of about 6,000, which is good, helping out the town. The question is how much would we want to submit for next year? I know that obviously we'll still have the town picnic, we'll still have Zots. And we want to, if things are successful, to continue game nights in some frequency. And maybe not at 2,000 a pop, but we don't know yet, right? So does anybody have any thoughts about the budget proposal for next year? Lindsay?
I think we should give ourselves a raise.
Oh, that's right. I didn't put the committee
I
dinner on there,
second.
did I?
All
The
in
committee
favor?
offsite. Oh, Cabo, here we come. Sorry.
So I think though you're saying that we would stay with that, even though we underspent it, we would still submit it again, because I think we could, well, actually, I think our spending will hopefully go up because we'll do more of the game nights.
That's what I was gonna say, is if we wanted to budget for, we had talked about 1 a quarter, but I even budget for 3 for the year. Somehow stick
6,000.
that in, yeah.
It'd be 6,000.
Yeah.
Because one of them's taken up with town picnic, and that's the cost. That could be one of the,
Yeah.
Every 3 months.
And we also talked about getting more economical. We could reuse if we did the banners, we could reuse them. If we could just put new dates on them. I mean, we could maybe get creative. So if we spent 21,000 this year and we wanted to say we had 3 extra at 2,000 each, that's 6. That's 27,000, which is what we submitted for last year. We want to give ourselves a little bit of a raise, a little bit of a buffer.
The relining of the courts and all of that is in a different.
Public works.
Okay.
And if we have to buy new nets, that's public works.
Or if we built new pickleball courts, that would be public.
That'd
works.
definitely be public works.
And bathrooms at Ford Field.
Dog
That-
park, that would be
500,000
public
would be
works.
Public works, so.
Everything we do is public works. How about we propose 30,000 for next year and see where that gets us? Sarah, you have any comments there?
I think you guys should propose what you want to propose. The backdrop is we are going into an extremely tight budget cycle. Our sheriff's contract has come in significantly higher than it has been in past years. We had a 5-year contract, so we haven't had an increase. And it's going to be a real challenging budget year as a result. So just a heads up, but I would go ahead and put in your requests. When we have $1 million increase, I don't know if $3,000 from Parks and Rec makes a huge difference, but I think we're going to have to be tightening the belt everywhere this coming year.
Okay, so
Keep our
Uh,
request in mind.
Yeah, I mean, the question I would have is with the picnic, if you think that there would be any change in the expenses, are there going to be more people? Is there going to be an increase to the costs of lots of pots?
well, I was just actually, I'll bring that up now. I was just told before this meeting this afternoon that Carrie informed me that we are now going to have to be required, if we want to use church parking, they are going to charge us $800 per event. And I sent her back a note and said, which events? And she said, well, for now, it's just going to be the big ones, which would be picnic, the wildfire fair, and the Palooza. I asked her specifically about trivia night. She said, unless we get like overflow, we could probably accommodate parking for trivia night. I'd love to have that problem.
Yeah.
But so for at least for the town picnic, the budget's going to go up by at least 800. Now, could I find that elsewhere and get one less inflatable? Sure. There are variables in the town picnic. Depending on how many inflatables you want, depending on how many food trips you want. Things like that.
I mean, the only thing I would say is we know costs go up. They never
Costs
seem
go
to
up.
go down. So it seems as though we might want to put more in just for that inflationary reason.
Okay, I would recommend $30,000 for next year.
Let's look at that.
Would you second that? Do I have a vote?
I
Aye.
I hear an aye from everybody, so we're gonna put in 30K for next year. Okay. Thank you. All right, moving right along. Old business, we have the court usage reservation policy. And we have Cindy who has just joined us. Hi, Cindy. You're on mute, Cindy.
Can you see them on your computer? Can you see who's in on your computer? Is that
I
what's going
can,
on?
yeah, because I'm signed in with Zoom. The only one I have is Cindy and Sarah on Zoom. So in the last meeting, what we talked about was getting more feedback, getting more input, particularly from the tennis community about the change and some of the proposals. The proposal was made for the court usage policy. What I did was I sent the policy out to all the people who are registered on SCEDA, which is the reservation system. And I sent it out to the pickleball group. did not put it on the, I don't think I put it on. Did I put it on the PD?
I think you did.
I think I did put it on the PD phone. So I got about, I would say 20 comments. Most of them were in very much agreement with what the direction that the proposal was headed in terms of trying to balance the needs of, a very growing number of people who want to play pickleball, but still trying to maintain enough leverage so that people who want to play tennis can play tennis. Just some things that were brought up. There were about 3 tennis players who specifically said that the yellow lines were terrible. They said that they were way too bright and that playing tennis on them was very difficult. So I do want to acknowledge that and I bring that up. That's not part of the court usage policy, but you may want to think about that. As
We
we're
actually
continuing
knew
to do the
that.
maintenance.
We
on the
knew that
courts.
would happen. That's why we didn't go with bright yellow ones initially.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because if they would have done that right off the bat, it would have been even more shock to them.
I know we got the same color that some other communities are using, so.
Yeah.
That's not to say it's right, but I just wanted to bring that up because it was a comment that was made. I did get one comment about loose balls, that the pickleballs go into the tennis court and not a very, they wanted like a different process. They said one other community that they know only allows their pickleball group to play with one ball. Cindy, was that
was
you
a distinct
giggling?
laugh.
Well,
Put that in the notes.
there's 4 courts, so you have to have at least 4 balls.
I know. I
It's
people, gave me these comments and I want to make them.
yeah.
doable.
By the way, that is a problem for everybody within pickleball and off the balls. Go over.
There was one comment about, as we know, pickleball's a very social event. It's loud. People bring, according to this one person, people bring lawn chairs, there's dogs and kids and beer coolers and everything else.
That's why it's
So-
awesome.
There was a little bit of request to maybe tone it down. There was several comments about we should be using court 3, all sports court. And I know this for whatever. There was somebody who said, let the tennis players play there. There were other people that say, turn that into the pickleball court. And I know we've talked about that before and it's kind of always on the standing agenda, but again, it's not specifically part of this court usage reservation policy, but it is, I did want to acknowledge it. Let's see. I mean, the other one was a very passionate plea for letting, according to the policy as it is written, the proposal is that Ladera residents would not be considered residents for purposes of making a reservation. And therefore they couldn't make advance reservations. They could only make reservations 24 hours in advance. And there was a passion plea from a Ladera resident to treat them the same as we're treating Los Trencos and
Vista Verde.
Vista Verde, sorry. And so that they're all treated the same.
Yeah, Ladera Rec does have pickleball courts. So whereas I don't believe that Vista Verde and Los Trancos do.
I believe that was one of the reasons that we wrote it initially the way that we did. So it's up to us.
Los Trancos is not Portola Valley resident.
They're not.
They're unincorporated Palo Alto. or something.
And one of the things that Cindy and I actually talk about, because we struggle with this, is like, well, when you take a town class, who's considered a resident? And the only people that are considered residents are people that are within the boundaries of Portola Valley as a town. And that's where the sphere of influence description comes in, because that's Vista Verde and Los Trencos are sphere of influence, as well as Ladera is a sphere of influence. They have to pay non-resident fees if they take a town class. So we're treating them a little different. Again, the reason was we thought because Ladera had access to pickleball. West Point doesn't just available. So those are some of the major comments that I got. Again, not disagreement, for lack of a better word, with the proposal as it stands, just maybe some comments about, you know, how to think about it going forward, or how to think about maybe what we already have on the table. I don't know, Cindy, do you want to, well, no, wait, I'm supposed to turn it back to the committee right now for any questions about that process as we went through to get more feedback.
I have a couple questions. And should I share that? There's one more piece of feedback I got from someone, but that's feedback. I did talk to a tennis player who has come down here, and there's been pickleball players. I'd noticed him one time before, and he actually was in favor of the exclusive use of the courts because he said it is very difficult as a tennis player to be playing next to a court with 4 pickleball games going on and the noise level. So that piece of it he was in favor of. But I do have some questions just about some of the things on here. When it says recurring reservations will not be allowed, can you just clarify what that means?
What that means is if you go in and say you want to play Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Right now, you can hit a button on Skeda that says, book me every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. for the next 6 months. And what we're saying, first of all, we're only going to open reservations for 1 month at a time. But if that gets approved, they would still have to say, I want to play 9 a.m. Saturday morning. They'd have to make 4 reservations. They can't just click a box.
Okay. And then it says court availability may not be posted on social media at any time. I think, is there any way that we would enforce that? Or is it the honor system? Okay.
I think if we found somebody that was doing it, certainly we could address it with that individual.
Okay, and then the last question I had is, let's say the 2 courts are open and people come into play and pickleball is court 1, let's say there's, I don't know, 1 or 2 pickleball games going on and another pickleball foursome comes in. Will they have to use to keep like a whole court open? Would they have to go to court 1? So that if a tennis player comes, there would be an open court for them. Am I making sense with that? Is to fill up
Yeah, you are.
1 court first with pickleball before we go to the second court?
I mean, Sydney could probably answer this question better than I can. I
Yes.
would think that the intent would be, yes, to fill up 4 courts. Now, does that mean that a pickleball group couldn't go over and play on court 2 and set it up? Sure, they could. But as soon as a tennis player shows up, they have to leave. Okay, they have to get off the court.
No, well,
Cindy, would that be the way, sorry, would that be the way?
That's
you-
correct.
this would be when it's not priority given to the courts. So you
Priorities
see what I'm
always,
saying? Like on Monday through Friday, where it says open play when not reserved. So you've got, if I'm understanding this correctly, you could have a situation where you have people playing pickleball and tennis could come and play on the other court if it were open on Monday through Friday.
on Monday through Friday, tennis can take court 2 anytime they want, reservation or not.
Okay, so they could kick a pickleball foursome off of the court.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
We think that's fair
Alright.
for them. That right now they have no time to play. It's terrible. We
okay.
wanted to give them always that priority court number 2.
Any other questions from the committee?
Time limit-
Carrie, you need to speak into the microphone.
Time limit for pickleball play, since we have a change of. daylight.
Reservations can only be made in a 2-hour window.
Okay, no, I meant limits for daylight. Because we're going into longer days. How late can pickleball be played at the time?
Till dark.
Okay. Well done.
Same with tennis. Tennis can play till dark. Unless we want to put the budget in for lights for
I,
the
I
court.
don't think the reservation system shuts off at a certain hour so that as the daylight changes, you can make your reservation for later in the day.
Okay.
Did you have a question about that, Carrie?
So I'd like to think about that. But that's my own opinion.
You think there should be a cutoff? Sorry, I didn't hear.
Well, I probably should recuse myself because I live across the street. In the summer, when we have dinner parties or dinner from 6 to 8:30, it's quite obvious there's a lot of beer. So, for what it's worth,
You could reserve the court.
I think that would be against the rules. I think that'd be against- So-
Sorry, Cindy.
So
That was a
that,
joke.
that's
That was a joke.
question. That's a question that a lot of clubs are having
I-
regarding residents.
It is, that
And
is true.
We
yeah.
are a resident that's very close in proximity. So, noticing it. And we had issues with Horse Park, or I guess it's not called the Horse Park. It's across the way from down farm. And we had serious issues. So we want to make sure we get on this right away. Cause further issues. Okay?
Okay. Noise restriction.
There is a decimal that supposedly, and I've heard about this, but I did not proceed to find out, but there is a level.
Yes, there is, definitely.
Okay.
A friend was throwing a party in his backyard and they had to look up the whole restrictions associated. Limit.
I think it's something we can monitor, certainly. Okay,
I do have one, I'm sorry, I have one more question. I noticed on here that it talks about that, what is it, where is it? Oh. The groups may request from the Parks and Recreation person an extended reservation for a specific purpose, i.e. special event, league, match play. And I'm not sure this is the right place to ask it, but are we going to change and require the leagues to go through the town the way the softball and soccer leagues do?
you're right, this is not the right place to ask that, but I
But
think
it's
it's an
in-
excellent question.
It's
too.
just, it's
And,
in
You know, I,
here.
I agree, I
We
agree.
should put it on the agenda sometime. It's come up multiple times now. About
Yeah, it's not on the agenda, so we can't discuss it.
what you.
Okay,
Um,
but it is listed in here, so perhaps we need to take that language out until it's
Mhm.
discussed.
no, they can still play. We're just, we
Okay.
haven't made a decision,
Okay.
policy decision that we would charge them for it.
Okay.
That's the way I read that. Okay, I will add it to the agenda next month to discuss these for pickleball leagues and match play. Is that all right? Okay,
Can I just note two things real quick? One is, I know this is contrarian and nobody else thinks this in this town, but I think this resident versus non-resident thing makes this sound very reclusive. Because that sounds more like recluse. Okay, I'm just a little more open to say, I'm not saying all these other people should be able to participate with us.
so you would
We
open
shouldn't
up reserv,
Keep them out.
you would open reservations to Ladera as well.
I would for sure.
Okay,
I know that other towns do this, and so there's a whole discussion around that, but I'd rather have them involved than not.
Okay. So with,
But we charge them $15 a year to join Willow Valley pickleball. At the same rights, privileges as Willow Valley residents.
We could, I don't know the process for doing that. I'd have to talk to the town to see what capability they would have.
Yeah.
They would have to register.
Yeah.
Pay the fees before they could make a reservation. They could still go down and play, drop in anytime. I don't, I mean, certainly a possibility. I don't
That way they-
know.
Get the right to make reservations wherever they want. They're not exclusive. Not a big. They hope that people in town would feel like, some going on between the two cities.
May I make a comment?
No.
No.
We're still talking in the committee.
Oh, okay.
John, I just want to clarify what you said. Are you saying that, are you saying that we should, there's several things in here about non-residents. One is Ladera, but there's also about non-residents needing to wait and not being able to make reservations at the same time as residents. And I'm not sure if you're saying just open the whole thing up to everybody all at the same time, or you're saying let's include Ladera. I just wanted some
I would say
clarification.
there, it goes in kind of zones, per se. Again, I would be encouraging, where I wouldn't be trying to preclude Ladera residents or Los Ventos. Sort of, again, when we even talk about it, we say you're in the Portola Valley School District. That's a way of opening it up, because these are our friends, right? So, I don't want to be saying my friend Bob in Ladera, anything that would suggest that we don't want him to play with us.
Right.
So you're saying anyone with a 94028 zip code
For sure that-
would be a way to distinguish between, okay,
I'd be more open for that, for sure. Then after that, then you can have certain restrictions.
Your kid wants to play with their kid.
Who is paying for the resurfacing of the court?
Public work, well, the town pays for it.
Town, what does that include? Town of Portola Valley,
Town of
Ladera,
Portola,
Los
town of
Bancos?
Portola Valley.
or is it just Portola Valley?
our understanding is it's just Portola Valley.
Okay, so if it's just Portola Valley and these courts are being used by other areas. but It used to be, we're talking 47 years ago, that you had a key to the tennis courts and you paid $75. So at some point, why would Portola Valley absorb all the costs of resurfacing the courts when other townships are using them?
They're public
I can
courts.
answer that because we
Public
we
courts.
use
Public
we use
courts.
their facilities. I go out to Menlo Park and Palo Alto all the time and use their parks.
Yeah, the policy as it stands now doesn't deny anybody from playing on court. All we're setting up is a hierarchy, for lack of a better word, of who can make a reservation and when.
So it's strictly
People
for
can still,
residents.
anybody can come play on the courts at any time if it's open. Okay, so we have a suggestion before us that we open up access to all Portola Valley and sphere of influence equally.
I'm gonna say, first of all, I'm just saying that was my personal opinion. I don't know. I don't think it's the consensus. It's giving a contrarian, the other view.
Okay, yeah, no, I'm saying, okay.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to clarify kind of where we are. Okay, now I'm gonna open it up to comments from the peanut gallery. Cindy?
Am I the peanut gallery? Okay, I want to talk about this reservation system. So my feeling is very strongly that you should just be consistent through Parks and Rec. And Parks and Rec considers Vista Verde, Los Trancos, and Ladera as non-residents. We cannot register for classes. We register as non-residents. We cannot rent facilities. We are non-residents. And I think we should all be treated the same. And one of the things is that for pickleball, especially, there's only 2 hours a day you can reserve. That's just a minute amount of the time. Nobody's going to care. I don't care if I can reserve those 2 hours. There's so many other hours in the day that I can go play. I mean, I don't need that reservation. And we are moving pickleball into a direction of a kind of non-reservation system. We have a committee that is making decisions on how we're going to use our priority court and how we're going to allot the time to different levels of players and different types of play. And I think the reservation system is for us it's just not a problem at all. For tennis players, there are so few really of tennis players that I think making same day reservations if you're a non-resident would not be a problem. You know, residents can reserve, what did you say, 3 days in advance or a month in advance?
Month in advance, yeah.
A month in advance. If residents can make a month in advance reservation and non-residents can make a same day reservation, those courts are empty of tennis players almost 8 hours a day, every day. I don't think it's a problem. Just my 2 cents.
Okay, you have 2 cents on anything else we discussed?
No, I don't think so. Did I?
You want to play with 1 ball?
We'll play with 1 ball per court. We can do that. We're very accomplished now.
4 balls. Well, obviously, you won't have me on the court then.
No.
Can I follow up on something you said? You said that reservations could only be made 2 hours a day, which I see Monday through Friday. was
Monday
From
through
11 through to 1. But on the weekends, can't reservations be made all day?
No. No, what we've done with weekends is say that tennis has priority on both courts Saturday mornings from 8 to 1. And then pickleball has priority on both courts for the afternoon. And Sunday is the reverse. But those are not reservable days. Those are the
Well,
days where we have the
They
biggest.
could- No, wait,
Hey,
wait,
I'm
Cindy,
very
they could
confused. I
be,
thought,
they
yeah.
could be reservable for tennis.
For tennis, but not for
Okay.
pickleball.
okay, so for tennis, they're reservable on the weekends, but for pickleball, it's all, I don't know if you call it drop-in or open.
Calling it
play.
open play. We're calling it open play.
Open play. Okay.
Yeah,
I
no,
don't-
no reserves. You can only reserve Monday through Friday for 2 hours a day. And that's
Okay,
because we have a ball machine and we need a reservation system for that.
Okay, so maybe we need to add in the chart that it's open play only, because I didn't see that in here, so I thought it was reservable.
I can add that.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Peanut Gallery.
Can I give another peanut galleries a total distraction? Where did you get this term spheres of influence from? Doesn't sound like you made it up.
It's in the general plan.
Yeah, it is.
General plan. Oh my goodness.
It's been in the general
So-
plan since 19.
Somebody should Google the historical use of that phrase.
I go right ahead.
The Soviet Union used it for the Eastern Bloc. The British used it for their African colonies. So
I
anyway,
don't
shouldn't,
know.
it
I'm
doesn't
just telling
belong
you
in
it's-
our
it's-
general plan.
It's a term that is used and used. It's in the general plan.
It's in Wikipedia for Portola Valley.
Yeah.
The Ladera, for Ladera. If you look up Ladera in Wikipedia, it says that they are in.
Actually, it
sphere
does. It does. I
influence.
Googled it.
Yeah, I did
Well,
too.
I did.
Kind of like the Eastern Bloc. It's like Poland.
Um,
Not Eastern Bloc anymore.
Okay, we're getting off track
I'm
here.
trying to get,
John.
I have a question, which is, I'd like to hear Sarah's opinion of, following up on what Cindy said, which is, following the town policy. What's your opinion on that?
I think consistency will make things significantly easier for staff.
I agree.
Thank you.
Can I just ask one question? Again, Saturday and Sunday, tennis players have priority.
Only, so on Saturday, they have priority from 8 to 1 on both courts.
Do they need a reservation?
No,
No.
But
and on Sunday, let me just finish. On Sunday, they have priority from 1 to dark on both courts. They can make a reservation during those times.
Saturday
required.
from 8 to,
Yeah, if it's on the policy, so it's policy that I sent out, Carrie. So Saturday, yes, tennis has priority from 8 to 1 in the morning. And then on Sunday, 1 to dark for both courts.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Play in the dark is.
Okay, so I'm pulling it back to the committee now. How do we feel about the resident, non-resident? Sphere of influence.
How can you say that we can have somebody from Ladera? But Ladera is not considered part of the group? Is that what you're saying?
We're just talking about access to facilities. I mean,
Well,
Yeah.
you're, there's a consistency issue there.
Right.
Yeah.
Welcome, but don't make a reservation.
I mean, yeah, you're gonna be a worker bee, but
we can do anything we want. Really.
It's not that you throw them $10.
Speak into the microphone, Lindsay.
What?
Speak into the microphone.
Hello. All right, I think we should charge $10 or some number.
Huh?
For
I just don't know the logistics of being able to do that.
what? For what?
Logistics of being able to do that. I'd have to look into that.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure it's something the town, given the
We'll
resources.
charge if you take a class. If you want to play spring tennis, you gotta pay by August 1st.
But I'd have to make sure everybody who was able to make a reservation had paid the fees.
Right, we'll post a list.
Yeah, it's,
The town sheriff to get them.
well,
I mean, if they made a reservation and everybody complained, we know who it was. They don't complain, or they make a reservation and no one complains, well, we don't care.
I personally am not in charge of, not in favor of charging people more fees for using our courts, but that's just my personal opinion. I respect your opinion. Your right to
Well,
say it.
just my opinion for a way to solve this. I don't-
So I have a thought.
Yeah.
One thing that we need to remember is that this proposal is for a trial basis.
Yep.
And so what I'm hearing from both Cindy, who lives up in Los Trancos, as well as Sarah talking about making things consistent, so it's easier for staff and quite honestly, for everybody, if we keep it consistent, is to maybe approve the policy with that consistency, but knowing it's a trial basis and try to then look at where there might be other inconsistencies, as Carrie mentioned, with having people on the committees, but not treated as, anyway. I'm just throwing it out that maybe there's a way to look at this as a trial and still keep in mind that we might want to change our minds about it.
I agree. I think the key was that you have to be consistent, whatever you do, whether it's classes.
Okay, so I'm hearing from the committee that we would like to make it consistent for residents and non-residents with how we handle with our other Parks and Rec classes and facilities, for lack of a better word, for a trial period to get input and to get input. Is that a motion? Or is
I
that-
move.
I'm not sure if it's a motion, but Lindsay moves.
We'll vote anyway.
We'll vote anyway.
Yeah, that's
All right, so Well, I think it needs to be a broader motion, which is, do we want to move forward with this policy proposal with the change of, we are going to have residents versus non-residents match the definition as to how the town treats it? Is that how you want to move forward?
I move, so,
Just check, is that also what the pickleball community wants, right? Is that what we just heard? Is that it's, should be consistent?
Do I have a second? All those in favor of moving forward with that motion, say aye.
aye,
Aye, John? Okay, you got to vote anyway.
I'm reading it, but I'm still
The-
seeing
the-
priority.
Oh my
pickleball.
3 months into
The other thing that I want to mention is that I think it's really, really important that our communication about this policy and signage is all very clear. So we need to be working on that. I know it's going to go to the council for a vote, is making sure that we've got everything all set up for that.
I think signage and awareness. Really working on communication and feedback. I agree. So Carrie, are you voting or not? You prefer, not, so you're abstaining?
Oh my
Carrie abstains. And we have a vote of 4 in favor of moving ahead with the proposal. Thank you. I will be presenting it to Sarah. I think I'm still on the agenda to the town council next Wednesday. Not tomorrow, a week from Wednesday.
I thought you're on the, I don't think remember we talked about how we didn't think it was a council level decision.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Did you ever, you were looking into that?
We didn't feel it was a council level decision.
Well,
That's what we just
heck, we're done.
So we gotta
Whoa.
create the signage and awareness.
Yes, that is true. Okay.
Wow.
Damn, we got something done.
Oh, my God.
And
All right,
Pat,
Cindy,
so-
congratulations.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I think the tennis players are going to be so happy.
Okay, so I would say that this goes into effect May 1st.
Oh, wow. I'm not
Yes.
sure I'm ready. Okay, yeah.
Stuff up on the board, outside the courts.
All right, let me look into the signage.
As long as, yeah,
And if we can get the signage, then I would propose May 1st.
Uh,
Go ahead.
Patty,
Yeah.
can you propose May 15th so that we get rid of the Corte Madera tennis team?
Oh, that's a good idea. May
I-
15th.
That's just such a complicated period for
Wait,
everybody.
wait. The exact terms you use, not get rid of. the
Oh,
team.
sorry. We,
Remember, this is
and
being
it's the
recorded
end of the Corte Madera tennis season.
Exactly.
To
Yeah.
accommodate their.
To
schedule.
accommodate the Corte Madera tennis season because they finished the
Thank you.
15th.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
No, Karen.
It's not about this. Did we skip review and discuss committee? No, yeah, review and discuss committee membership under new business.
Yeah, Marianne's.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was thinking of the
no, that-
committee operations.
that's
Sorry.
number.
Got it. Thank
D.
you.
That's number
Yeah.
D. I can't read my agenda.
No, I read it. and I
That's
just-
usually
I
me that
got it.
makes comments like that.
I
Got
jumped.
confused. I was thinking it was the other one. There's 2 committee issues.
One
Yeah.
is membership and one is.
Right.
structure, yeah. I got it. I got your back. Okay, all right, I'm moving on.
Woo.
Congratulations,
Okay.
Cindy.
Thank you.
Thanks for all your work on that.
Thanks. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
All right, take care.
Right.
Okay, we're moving on to item number B. Trivia night.
Okay. The trivia night registration is live
Yay.
and there have been some forum posts. I sent one out early Friday morning and we do have, as of noon today, 6 registrations.
6.
Yeah, I mean, it's really early, but it just went out.
Right, right. And Carrie was very helpful. We have flyers. They're up at the library and town center, and I don't know if we've
I
got
put
them.
up at Roberts in the hardware store. I must say though, because this kind of goes back to the last discussion, because it's Portola Valley residents, that cut out a few places I normally put flyers in, like Ladera. I chose not to go down to Ladera because it says you're not invited.
Didn't win it, everything.
Sphere of
Just as
influence.
your side,
Sphere of
no,
influence.
so be careful with that.
We'll be careful of that.
Well, it's a good point, and we should, and if we want to open it up to everybody, I think we were concerned about more than just the sphere of influence. If we went on social media and things like
But then we
that.
don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But it does come, yeah. It's just, frankly, there's only so many places to put it up in Portola Valley.
Right.
I didn't go down here. I just don't go down there that much. I meant to down at.
Parkside Grill. there's
Parkside
a-
Grill. I don't ever go there.
There's a bulletin board outside Parkside
Yeah,
Grill.
I'll put in there too.
Yeah, that's some, or
Yeah.
does anyone want a flyer to put up somewhere? So we've got that out and then Carrie will start to include it in the town weekly email, or I can't remember what that's called, as well as the
Update. It's a weekly update.
upcoming events
The other big,
section. It's on the town calendar.
the other big place though, you have to kind of get permission is at the schools. Right, 'cause usually it's behind glass. I don't know if there's, I haven't checked Ormondale and Clemmondale. But it's just usually a good spot. I haven't.
I can do that.
It's a date. and so it's-
It's Saturday, May 13th from 6 to 10 PM and the trivial will start at 7 PM. John and I have been meeting and we have a list of questions. There'd be 5 rounds with 10 questions each and a tiebreaker in each round. There will be prizes, small prizes for the rounds and the winners. There will be food and beverages, snacks and beverages. I don't know, does anyone have any questions? The biggest thing that we need to do is have this get promoted. Not only online, but if all of you can be talking to your friends, if you want me to write some copy for you that you shoot emails to, but we really want to get the word out.
I'll try to put it in there.
Okay, well, I'll talk to you about, I've been talking about, you talking about the banners at Ford Field and the town, or are you talking? Yeah. Okay, I've been working on that too. So do you guys think that we should do the banner? It can go up on April 28th. That's the way that it works. It can be up for 2 weeks before the event. Shannon?
Actually, I kind of was in and out on that. I kind of like it to a certain extent just to promote Parks and Rec. You know, the more word we put out, the more it's just, even if they don't come or they're not interested, they see Parks and
I
Rec.
think we're doing something.
doing
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, we're actually doing something. I actually like the banners. I think it brings community spirit in. They're
Okay.
colorful. I don't know how much traffic they attract, but one of the things I was thinking is maybe we have a little table at the farmer's market one day or something like that, and just talk to people coming in and out of the parking lot, giving them a flower, or just talking about it. I mean, I'd be happy to sign up for something like that.
That's my question.
Ask what question?
No, we actually, it'd be a good idea to keep bringing it out
Can
there.
you define sphere of influence? No.
Could have one of the, how many events or how many question sessions?
5 rounds of 10
Oh,
plus
yeah.
a tiebreaker.
Just have 10 questions. They come out of the.
It wouldn't be bad to put them out there so they have a sense. So let me make a few comments first real quick, just my latest thoughts, because even after we haven't talked One is, don't let me forget, I brought a few things just to show you. One is the projector, which I wouldn't mind just giving to you, and also the metal from Zots to Tots, and I'll show you how we would turn it into that. And I'm still very bullish on this, but I will say I did already send an email out to a very large group of people. And the feedback was this, it was totally different than I expected, because I said, I'll sign you up, do this. And I cannot tell you how many people said, well, I'm not very good at trivia. Right? You know, they were just worried that they're, you know, not going to know anything or something. And I just thought that was not what I expected at all. A few of them said, well, if you're on my team, then I'll do it. I'm like, no, I'm going to be reading the questions. Right? But it was just an interesting, just thought I'd know. So we got to keep advocating. It's just fun. Doesn't matter if you don't know anything about anything, you think anything right.
Yeah, it's not going to be like double jeopardy. I mean,
Right.
this
So
is,
if we need to turn it up, by the way, you know, like, then we can say, by the way, there is going to be wine and beer there.
Well, I was wondering about that.
that's why I said
I-
maybe advertise that
Oh,
more.
And,
Right. If we have to dial it up, yes. If we have to dial it down, you keep that a little
What-
down.
what
Right.
Wine would go best with the trivia question.
Yeah, what, namely something about wine.
well, and we had originally used, sorry, and I think I was saying, hey PV got brain, question mark, you know, and then going into trivia night. And then I thought maybe we should add got brain, get social. So that it's, that we're talking about that this is a social event. So, okay, that's a good point.
Maybe we could tell everybody, we're gonna get the questions up. What do you call it? Trivia? What's it called?
Speak into the microphone, Lindsay.
What's it called? The game show that, where they ask questions?
Jeopardy.
Jeopardy. Okay, so we're gonna get all our questions from Jeopardy over the next
We're
month.
not- We're not gonna
I
do
was going to
that.
say we're not getting all our questions.
But we
Is
could,
that-
we could put sample questions out. It's just as a
You could
thought.
put sample
And you can
questions
make
out.
them, you know, like a little easy enough where they're not intimidated by it.
I think that'd be good. What comes up to mind?
I did one of those, which was, what does FOMO mean? And will it be a trivia, will this question be at trivia night? And then I said, don't miss out. See, unfortunately, the forum posts, you think people are reading them, but they're really not, right? So, yeah, but I think
That's
adding
fine.
the questions are a good idea.
Just, you know, just
Yeah.
for fun, just, you know, throw them in here and there. Make them light. Name the 6 Brady kids.
And if you have a list of volunteer positions, I mean, certainly, you know,
Yeah.
sign me up for something or whatever.
Okay,
Um,
and I'm hoping that the committee volunteers, we actually have, well, we've got 5 people that have volunteered, and actually some new ones on this list. I need to find you on here. Lindsay. Yeah, you said you did it.
I added 2 names.
Yeah, you did too. Yeah. That's
was
what
my
I was
only
thinking. They
response.
might be players.
There was nobody saying, yeah, that was the problem. I literally sent it out to like at least 20 people, right? And nothing for like a week. And then finally one couple said, well, we'll volunteer to help.
Yeah, okay,
Oh, this would be fun.
okay. Let's brainstorm how to change it to be more on the fun side. Okay,
Okay, so we will not be meeting before, do you need anything from the committee?
I think, and because of the Brown Act, this has made it hard to like be sending emails out to everybody all at once, right? So anyway, the answer is we'd love for everybody to volunteer. We want the committee to really get the word out about it. I'm happy to send some copy if you need help sending emails to your friends. And I might get in touch with you individually if there are certain items that we need for the event, but I think we're pretty well covered.
I think
Would
we
you
have
give
a
it
good
to
plan.
Jennifer Hammer for the PDWC
No,
newsletter?
no,
Let's get it to Jennifer Hammer for the women's.
yeah. If you can think of organizations like that to get it out to, that'd be great.
I mean, I could send it. to
Well,
Jennifer.
with like we learned in Zots to Tots particularly, there are certain communities, sub-communities. Maybe we can try to get it to somebody within or distribute it. Like, again, there's the ranch. There is everybody up not Arastradera, Los Trancos. There's a couple up there that are just, it's like their own email systems or whatever. Again, I say it based on us because we learned it as an alert, right? Because they were going to be cut off completely. We said, well, we kept saying, why didn't you do it to these homeowners association, whatever, the Los Trancos homeowners association? Didn't know there was one. But anyway, you may want to make a list of those and figure out who put it out there.
Doesn't get a bunch of entries from each class at school. So fifth grade has 3 classes. Separate little category. I have one round. I'll see those pretty quick at the beginning. Get kids interested, other parents interested.
Okay.
And promote the beer and wine too.
Yeah.
Nothing else. Promote beer and wine too.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Make sure your kid goes to high school, knowing stuff with lines and stuff.
Okay, is there anything else on trivia night?
Any other?
I think we have a good plan.
Okay, we got a
I think
long
we went
agenda
through
here.
it,
Let's keep
There was a
going.
lot of execution at the end.
Right, yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you. I know you guys have put a lot of hard work into that. Appreciate it. I think it's gonna be great. I think it's gonna be fun. Okay,
It's
dog
Greg.
park proposal.
Greg, Peter, Bobby, Marcia, Jan, and
Cindy,
very good. You see, that would
could have
be
done that.
perfect.
It's the one, that's the
Brady
one I
Bunch.
know.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, dog park proposal.
Nothing has been done on that, because I've been focused on trivia night. The only thing is that I have had a conversation with a couple people at Post who, about El Mirador. And, a piece of the estate is being left to Post, but it is going to be tied up in the estate process for quite a while. That's my only update that I.
The last one. Okay. Okay, now we are gonna talk about the proposal for simplifying and clarifying committee operations. So this is the other big, long attachment that I put on the minutes. There is a committee of the committee chairs that have been pulled together. Sarah and Craig are the town council liaisons. And what we are looking to do is to simplify the committee structure and the committee requirements, for lack of a better word. So right now we have 17 town committees. Side note, I think that's too many, but that may or may not be part of this process. All 17 of those committees are under the auspices and requirements of the Brown Act, meaning a lot of things. There's a lot of requirements that go with it. We have to have a quorum. We have to meet in public. Nobody can meet on Zoom. We have to publish our agenda 72 hours in advance. Can't talk about anything that's not on the agenda. You can't talk to one or more persons on the committee about anything between meetings. And everything has to be open to the public. Now, there's a reason for that law, an absolutely very good reason for that. But that it also sometimes gets in the way of committees who are advisory committees at best, and how they do business. And there's been a lot of complaints about it, both from the town staff, because it creates a lot of obligation and resources from the town staff to manage all those requirements for 17 committees. And it gets in the way of committees sometimes just getting stuff done. And quite frankly, getting people to volunteer, because there are complaints about it's just too restrictive in terms of how people can operate on a committee or just feel good about it. So that's kind of what we're doing, as well as some of Patty's feelings about it. So what we've done is we pulled the chairs together, and within this uh, proposal that I sent out, there is some criteria about how or what it looks like if a committee retains their Brown Act compliance. for lack of a better word. So that's column A. There's a description of what a committee would look like if they were they were still a committee, but they were not under the auspices of the Brown Act. And then in column C, there is a description of what that group would look like. We no longer call them a committee, but we call them like a working group. Best example I can think of a working group is what Karen and I did on the ADU team. Is we just pulled a group of 6 or 7 people together, and we were not under the auspices of the Brown Act. And we pulled together an ADU survey. We got it done. We worked with Sarah very closely, Sarah and Jeff on the town council. But we didn't have to have public meetings. We didn't have to have agendas. Doesn't mean that we weren't transparent about what we were doing, but we just didn't have to have all those formalities, for lack of a better word, to get things done. So what each committee is being asked to do is to take a look at this document, ask questions about it, understand about what it would mean for each of the committees, and then potentially for each of the committees to think about which column they'd like to be under, quite frankly. Would the committee still like to be under the Brown Act? Does the committee think that they can operate by not being under the confines of the Brown Act? Or do we just think we're working good? So that's my summary. I don't know, Sarah, you probably didn't say it right. Do you want to add anything to that?
No, I thought that was a very good overview, and Patty is being modest. She's been really helpful to this whole process and really administratively helping us shepherd us through these meetings and collecting the notes. And so Patty, you do have a very good appreciation for the challenges and the rationale as to why we are interested in making these changes, both in terms of, convenience for volunteers, as well as complexity for staff and volunteers. So, and I guess I would say the only thing I would add to your comments is that this is in brainstorm format. We had our initial meeting and we have come up with these 3 columns, but that's not to say that these 3 columns are the only options. They do, for those of us that have been looking at it and thinking through it and vetting it, these do seem to make the most sense. But the purpose of each committee reviewing this and discussing this within their committees is to open it up to new ideas as well. So just underscoring that it's in full brainstorm mode, and what we're looking for is for each committee to get up to speed about this concept and provide feedback is really the goal at this juncture.
Thank you. So any questions then from the committee?
My question is, what are you looking for in response?
Any questions about the process that we're going through? And or any suggestions or thoughts about which column we would fit into from a Parks and Rec committee?
It was like a big demotion from, I feel like we're actually one of the major committees. I mean, to me, the Brown Act is a minor inconvenience. Maybe it's more for you guys if you feel like you're really constantly restricted by it. So much. But, I mean, out of the 17 committees, I feel like they're one of the major ones. So unless they're all going to be demoted, they need to work in groups.
Can I ask that people speak into the microphone because I'm having a hard time hearing?
Don?
Okay. Anyway,
Can you paraphrase what you
Uh,
just said for Sarah, please?
Using sign language.
Sarah,
No,
John,
can you,
paraphrase what you just said for Sarah.
um,
Be closer to, directly into the microphone.
it sounds like the question on the table, should we become a working group because the Brown Act as a committee, we're restricted by the Brown Act, and that's a obstacle to getting things done. Is that the question on the table first?
I think that's
No.
one of them. I don't think that's the only
What
one.
is the question on the table then?
Let me, can I add a little more color commentary I was thinking about? So what we were reflecting on is the town has a deep and, long history of volunteerism. I don't know, for those of you who came to the volunteer appreciation party we had a couple months ago, we gave the statistic that over 10%, it was close to 11% of the community is volunteering, which is extraordinary. And it's part of the town's ethos, and it's something that we, are very proud of. And the town was founded on that. What has happened is while we started that way, and at the same time, we've had an increasing amount of regulations in a whole host of areas, not just housing, but in other ones as well, which has made operating as committees per se more complicated. Right now, we have a committee structure akin to, this was discussed in the committee of committees meetings. We basically have the same structure for our town committees as they do in LA. For their very complex, committees that serve populations in the millions. And so what we're trying to do is get back to the original intent of volunteerism and offer an alternative, two alternatives. One is basically the same, pretty much everything the same, other than it would not be a Brown Act committee. So I think I heard somebody mention a demotion. There's no, if you look through the column there, and perhaps it would be helpful if we talk through each of these, but you'll see that access and influence are exactly the same. So it's not, if there's concern about that, that is, let's talk through it, because that's definitely not the intent. The intent was to simplify.
Got it. I actually did call it demotion, and I still feel that it is, frankly. Because especially if you're just asking the committees individually, if they want to do it, then you can have these small committees that have been, around a lot less time saying, no, we want to be a committee, and then we become a working group. Right. So at least from a perception standpoint, I would say that would be a pretty big drop off, right? There's already a big line drawn between commissions and committees. Right, so commissions, they're the ones that make decisions. Right, so everybody else is already in this, yeah, we're just advising the town council. Right, so, and I do think that's very different than in bigger towns or bigger cities. Parks and Rec in any of these kind of adjacent cities, they have much more. They're not just advising. the
Yeah,
town
but
council.
they run the whole class structure and things like that. I
Yeah,
mean, it's a very different structure.
It's
You
already
look at
there.
Menlo Park, Parks and Rec,
Yeah.
they're a department, paid employees and things like that, whereas we're not.
Understood. I still think if we were to call ourselves a working group, that's, at least from a perception standpoint, would be dramatically different than what we've been doing for the last, for me,
So that-
25 years.
But there is an option, there's an option of column B, which is we can still be a
It's
committee.
a committee.
But that we relax, for lack of a better word, the Brown Act requirements.
See, that's what I started with, right? So do we see the Brown Act as being some type of obstacle?
Oh, yeah.
well,
I don't.
okay, so I think from the standpoint of doing, when we talk about the town picnic, we talk about these game nights or fun nights. It is restrictive because even though I'm meeting with you, John, individually, and we're doing it, I would much rather be able to be communicating with the entire group and getting group input. I mean, I think that the more input we have and ideas, the better the event could be. And more involvement. And I have felt, personally, I felt constrained because I can't, if I understand the Brown Act correctly, I can't go out and send all of you an email about this stuff. So I've got to have the individual conversations. So from the standpoint of things like the town picnic and these game nights, it would make it a lot easier.
But all you have to do is call it a subcommittee or an ad hoc committee or a working group, and then we can, right? And
Only
Okay.
two of us, only two of us,
I think it's just
For a subcommittee.
not a majority.
not a
And
quorum.
when, since when do we get all 7 of us or 6 of us working on anything? And again, that's my only point is, for me, it has not been an obstacle. I feel like if I have to plan something, I can plan it with whoever I need involved. I don't ever, need to get the entire committee together. And if you do, you call a meeting. That's just, again, it's just a personal
That's a fair
difference of
comment,
opinion.
yeah. I personally, it is it's a burden. It's a lot of work for me. To get the agenda put together, I have to do anything I want to talk about in this meeting has to be an attachment. But we can't talk about
In this meeting.
it in this meeting.
But
Like,
this isn't a working meeting. This is a Parks and Rec meeting where we run through a quick review of all the major subjects, and then we get the work done outside the meeting.
yeah,
That's my-
but even things like, Karen brought up, should we be charging pickleball leagues fees? Can't talk about that. It's not on the agenda. Bad girl, bad girl.
It's just how we run this particular meeting. Yes, that's right. There's restrictions around this meeting.
I know.
That's good.
I don't think it's as much a problem for us as it is for some of the other committees. I think personally, we still get work done.
Who turns us in if you don't do something wrong?
Lindsay, we don't talk about.
Now, I do think 17 committees is a lot. I mean, we can talk about consolidating.
So,
you know.
yeah, so I went through the list and I think that certain committees could be consolidated and there are newer, right, I think, John, there have been committees added over time. So you want to look at the original committees and what they were, and then what the newer ones are. But I also was thinking that the ones that really need to be Brown Act are things like finance and audit. I think anything with safety, emergency preparedness, geologic safety, public works, wildfire preparedness. Those are the things where I think the impact on the town is really there. Those ones to me that really need to be more on the Brown Act, but some of these other ones, like could Parks and Rec combine with cultural arts? Well, maybe, because we're doing events for the town, right? I mean, if we want to look at it that way.
Yeah, I mean, other groups used to do the town picnic, right? Now we do. There was blues and barbecue. There was all these other things. It's moved around quite a bit. But mostly it's because people have started up committees because they just want to have a little more control over it. They just want to focus on what they want, what they're interested in.
Yeah, there are, just to bring it up, there are 3 committees that are that were developed in the general plan that will need to retain their Brown Act. And I think it's conservation, might be open space, and it might be finance. Don't quote me on that, but there are 3 committees that it's a no-brainer. Parks and Rec is not one of them. Speak into the microphone. Lindsay.
Wildfire
Who's
preparedness.
putting in the wildfire event this weekend?
What about it?
Who's sponsoring that?
The Wildfire Committee. The
Let me
Wildfire
take
Committee.
another, swing at this, because again, it's okay, whatever we agree, but if we're just a working group, no, maybe I'll just go do Zots to Tots and you guys can do whatever you're gonna do.
See, I think we're more than a working group. I think we're the middle column, personally. I think we are a committee. I think we should be a committee of the town. But I don't see why we have to be under the auspices of all the Brown Act requirements. Doesn't mean that we're not going to be transparent. Doesn't mean that I would have done anything different on, say, the court policy that we just did. Got public input. You know, we made it visible. I would personally wouldn't change anything. I just think there's some logistics that would be relaxed a little bit for us to attract more volunteers and potentially get more work done between meetings. That's just my opinion.
So what would change exactly?
Well, we can go down the columns here. First of all, our meetings could be hybrid. Not everybody would have to come down to the schoolhouse. That's a big one.
Which we didn't need to now. I mean, Sarah's on the phone. And we can't. Call her now?
With the town council liaison can be on the phone.
We can't be on the phone.
No, we cannot be on the phone. If we don't have a quorum in person, we cannot have a meeting.
Maybe on the phone if we have a quorum.
Nope.
Take out Mike Chen.
That was another big reason for initiating this, because as of, I can't remember what the date was, I think it was March 1st. All committee members need to be in person if they're going to be participating in a meeting.
Yes. I think the other ones have to be a notification of like minutes and things like that. Agendas. It's just, it's a more relaxed time. It doesn't say you can't still do them in advance, but it gives us more flexibility about, could we add things at the last minute? Could we, discuss other things at the meetings? We could. I think those are kind of the two biggest things that I see as we're looking for this.
So again, I can see this as a way to try to get around the Brown Act.
We're not trying to get around the Brown Act.
Sounds like it.
We're
what-
trying
what are-
to, I think Sarah's point was valid. We're trying to get back to, this is an advisory committee. It's not a commission. So do we really need to be under the auspices of the Brown Act?
So why are we under it in the first place then?
Somebody made a decision years
Because you're a
ago.
committee.
Every time
you're
a
under the
committee
Brown
was
Act, so now
added,
we're
it
gonna
was
be
a
a
Brown
committee,
Act.
but we're not doing the Brown Act.
But
I'm just trying to understand the whole logic, it's like,
I think we're stepping
Why-
back and revisiting what exactly, how we're doing things. And is it the right way to do things?
so what legally is required?
Sarah, can you hear John? Could you answer that question?
Yeah, I'm having a little bit of hard time hearing John. He's going in and out, but Karen, I can hear you well, and Patty, I can hear you well. So the only legal distinction that makes a committee a Brown Act committee is that it's appointed by the full council. So I think what might be helpful for this discussion is to, refer to the table. And although it's a little laborious, you guys might want to go, Patty, you might want to go through each row here so that everybody is clear on the differences, but per our town attorney, the main distinction that is between column 1 and column 2 is the appointment for a Brown Act committee is by the council, and a non-Brown Act committee would be a subcommittee of the council. So that is the Brown Act that's what triggers a Brown Act. And so you'll see there at the description line item, our perception is that the middle column gets closer to the original intent of what committee work was. This was before there was, the complexity of the Brown Act requirements.
Yeah, so every time we formed a committee, they were appointed by the town council, which by default meant that they were under the Brown Act. So was that the right way to set up the committee structure? So to Sarah's point, we can continue to do exactly what we're doing now. there would be a subcommittee of the town council, say it's Sarah and Craig, and they would be assigned with the task of approving, say, Mary Ann when she comes onto the committee or she comes on the committee. Well, it's not the whole town council, it's a subcommittee of the town. And therefore that allows you to work outside of the boundaries, not around, but outside of the boundaries. of the county.
I had a question.
By the way, the reason why this started for me was because we said, are we gonna do a committee or are we gonna do a working group?
Yeah.
Right. That actually says something different, right? That
It
says,
says we can be a committee.
that says there's three things.
Yeah.
Right. So there's committees, there's non-Brown Act committees, and then there is working groups.
Correct.
So the only question really I think we're asking is, should we be a Brown Act committee or should we be a non-Brown Act committee? I actually now don't know why anybody would choose to be a Brown Act committee. Okay. This is why I was just trying to follow the logic.
No, you're exactly right.
Patty,
your
does everybody in the
intuition is-
room have the table?
Yeah.
No.
Well, not everybody,
know.
no.
That's a pretty key part to the discussion to be able to see what the three columns are.
Can you share it on your Zoom screen?
Like, you guys can
We see you. I don't know if that means we can see the. I'm not sure they'll be able to see it. It'll be small. I've read it. I have.
Well, I think one of the things you can see is under pros, the color under the pros, which Brown Act is nice from oversight, non-Brown Act, flexibility, hybrid meetings, and lower impact on staff and structure.
There's nothing positive under the Brown Act committee part. That's the only thing.
That's right.
Yeah.
Want more work.
Right.
This is so minor. I shouldn't even ask it. 'cause
You want me
it's
to
9
share? Or
o'clock.
do you guys want to look at this?
Okay,
Okay,
okay, good.
there, it looks like we've been passing it around here, so people are looking at it. Okay, are there any more comments or questions from the committee? Okay, do I have a proposal, a motion? Do I have thoughts?
Can I just ask one more, just to be clear, just before a vote? I mean, is anybody even gonna know, or is there gonna be any change in the perception or the communication of the town? Is there gonna be any different view of us if we say we're a non-Brown Act committee versus a Brown Act? I can tell you, none of my friends will say, they'll say, what are you talking about?
I know.
Who will know?
Right.
Well,
Right.
I think that's a good question, and I'll let Sarah answer it as well. I think part of this whole process is we have to ensure the residents and or non-residents of this sphere of influence that we will retain the same kind of transparency and participation and engagement that the residents expect of us, Brown Act or not.
So and
That
what,
would be-
what I can add to that is that what we do want to have, if and when we move forward with these changes, is that anyone that, regardless, if everybody that chooses column one has the same set of rules they're following through, which is obvious because those are already the Brown Act, that's the status quo. Anybody that is within column two, any committee that chooses that column, they're gonna have the same rules. We can't have like, 5 non-Brown Act committees, all with different agenda timelines and this and that. So within a column, there's gonna be consistency. Anybody that's the one that will be the least probably consistent would be the working group, because that's altogether more project oriented. But I'm sharing that at this juncture because with the hope of, it's still gonna be, there's still gonna be consistent expectations. And we did discuss the potential concern that might come up word, to use your word, demotion. I mean, it's absolutely not. That's why we chose to still call it a committee. Still
Right,
have
and
the same
Sarah-
access to council. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, just so you know, when I was using that term, it was when all I was hearing was two choices, not three. Right? Committee and working group. So if Parks and Rec was going to become a working group, that's a demotion, right? Or it's a very different way of working and perception of who we are and everything else.
Yeah,
right?
no, I
Right.
don't think
Now,
it should be.
right, if we're talking about, are we a Brown Act committee or a non-Brown Act committee? That's a whole different thing. That's more like, yeah, why wouldn't we want to be a Brown Act committee? Right?
Yeah, I think we must have gotten off to the wrong foot on misunderstanding there. Yeah.
And to Karen's point, I think some committees that, it's very critical to our safety and to communication and engagement and transparency. I think they probably should be Brown Act. That's up to them. Not to me. But, and like I say, the general plan does require some committees to do that.
The Brown Act requires some committees.
No, there's a couple of committees that have, what's the right word?
They're
They were-
sanctioned, for lack of a better word, by the.
Well,
general
no,
plan,
there's
right?
two BPTS and conservation. There's overlap with town code. So because of that, as the code is currently written, they would need to be a Brown Act committee. If we wanted to, and they wanted to become non-Brown Act, there's ways that we could work around the way the code is written. I believe for BPTS, not necessarily conservation, but that's the reason. Parks and Rec is not impacted by that.
Any thoughts? I'm not sure we need to make an emotion. I mean, do people have their consistency and thought maybe that we want to be middle column?
I would like to be in the non-Brown Act committee column.
Middle column,
I second that
middle
idea.
column. I'm hearing middle column. All right. Okay, Carrie's putting on her jacket.
So just, Patty, do you mind if I share a little bit more background about next steps?
Go right ahead.
So what we're spending a month right now for all the committees to kind of go through this process, ask questions, not even necessarily make a decision about where they'd want to be. It seems like you guys are kind of aligning already. The next step is at the third week of May, we're going to be reconvening as a committee of committees to consolidate all of the feedback. And from there, we'll make decisions about next steps. Part two of this whole process is that we would then need to go through the committee and commission policy and procedure handbook and rewrite the policies. So all of this to say you will still be a Brown Act committee for several months here because we need to go through this process. I'm going to guess it'll take at least 3 or 4 more months.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, I'm closing out this agenda item. Okay, item E, review and discuss plans for skateboard ramp. I have to honestly admit, I have not done a lot on this. I apologize. I did send an email to the contact that you gave me. I have not heard from that person. And I know I was going to get out to this committee what we had looked at last time, and I apologize, I did not do that. So is it okay if we just keep this on the agenda? Yes, thank you.
Can I ask a question as long as we're on that?
Sure.
Yeah, you're worried about pickleball. Are you worried about the skateboard ramp too? From the neighbors' noise standpoint? Okay.
There's been nothing done on Hawthorns since the last meeting. How about web page updates?
No, I have not been working on that because I've been doing
Did,
trivia. but-
did the town council pass the?
So,
COVID thing?
um, Sarah told us in a prior meeting that the ordinance was lifted. It didn't, the town council, even though I had been told that the town council needed to pass an ordinance, a new ordinance, I believe it just expired. And so, yeah. Sarah, can you clarify that, please?
Yes, per Car Silver, it is no longer effective.
Has the staff been notified on
Yep.
that?
Yep.
Okay.
It's been a couple months.
Yeah.
Since March 1st.
Right. I know, yeah. And my conversation was right around that time about getting rid of all the COVID related pages on the site. And I was told, well, even though March 1st was for California, Portola Valley needs to pass its own ordinance. But then you had said that that has already been done, and I did pass that information along. But I'll follow up on that. But I was gonna go back. Is it possible to like take an item off the agenda until we have? Although I guess you leave it on just in
Yeah.
case, then it's
Yeah, I
on, just
I
in
say
case.
no
we-
update.
Yeah, okay.
Until we don't have to abide by the Brown Act, in
Yeah.
which case we're allowed to say
And
whatever
then-
we want.
Then we can do that. Okay.
Okay, keep moving along here, people. I've done nothing on H. I apologize. Again. California State Grant, I did reach out to Howard. He did say that it's still in play. We still have an opportunity to apply for it. It hasn't gone away. We are still major wish is for restrooms at Ford Field. But as you may or may not know, we are testing a new solution, for lack of a better word. The Little League has agreed to pay for and bring in 2 kind of semi-permanent outhouses. And they're the kind of the ones that come in on the city truck and you step
I
up.
think
to
you're
them.
already there.
They're a little cleaner. I
No,
saw
they're
them the
not.
other day at the
No, they're
field.
not at all.
Oh, okay, they're not cleaner.
I happened, this is just all on it. This is totally random. I was driving down. I said, oh, I think I'm gonna stop in at Ford Field and see what those little
Just
porta
take a
potties look
whiz,
like.
yeah, take a.
Right. They're disgusting.
Oh, really?
Oh, man.
Wow.
We gotta do something
Did you
about that
tell, did
someday.
you tell Howard that?
No, not yet. I don't talk to Howard as much as I used to, but yeah, it was just totally, it was so
Really?
gross.
Okay.
It was like, I can't believe we
They
like,
were just,
put our
I mean,
kids
they're
in
like
there.
brand new. They just put them in there.
They're so, do it, stop by,
No,
You
I
know?
don't really want to stop it.
stop by. It's
Um,
incredible.
Okay, so
Just my personal
thank you. I
experience. It was an
appreciate that.
experiment. It
I
was
appreciate
random.
that
I was like,
feedback.
"Oh, I think I'm gonna check these out. It was.
Right, well,
it
then,
was-
then maybe this experiment will not go very well. But that is
Yeah.
something we're gonna try out this year to see how it works. If it doesn't, then, maybe we're back to square one. So stay tuned. There has been no movement. Howard's not aware of any movement on the donated horse sculpture. To the best of my knowledge, it's still in the hands of the donatee and to decide what he or she wants to do with it. And other than what I gave an update on in the minutes about parking at Rosati's, the only other update I have is that the ASCC did approve their plan to update the kitchen. We did discuss parking at the ASCC. I did raise the points that I raised in the minutes. They were acknowledged. I think there was general agreement that the parking is an ongoing issue, not necessarily directly related to the kitchen upgrade. And that they could be not separated, but that they could move ahead with their kitchen renovation while acknowledging that parking was still on the table.
That takes away any leverage.
And I think, sorry, I didn't interrupt. Deke did send me a mock-up drawing of what that additional exit driveway would look like. I was going to distribute it to the committee, and then I remembered the Brown Act, so I did not.
You can send stuff to us. We just can't reply.
I'd have to send it out to everybody in the public. It'd have to go out in the minutes or the agenda.
And you send stuff out to us, like with a meeting yesterday. Fine.
Um, it was just a mock-up. Public Works is looking at it. It's not something that is up to us for review or approval, but it was just, he was just being nice and sharing it with him. So that's really all the update I have for you guys.
So when I was driving by Zots yesterday, I noticed that AYSO, that's the only day they practice now because Zots is closed. So they had 4 little groups out there and these were younger kids. And I went in and actually looked at the number of cars in the lot down at that end. Because it's closed. So there's not all the cars there. And there were 15 cars there for this. It was just practices and some kids were dropped off. And I thought, well, that's not for game, so I do think that 10 spots is not nearly enough and that number really needs to go up.
I think we put 30 or 40 in the comments that I gave to you.
Yeah. And then Sarah, do you have any update on that agreement between the town and Zots Parking?
No. It's gonna need to be updated as part of, they're gonna need to go through an extensive process when the new access point comes up and yeah, I'm sure it will absolutely have to get revisited then. It's an old lease.
So does the town have a bus? We can have all the people that want to go to the game meet at XYZ, ride down in the bus and take up less room.
That is not an option that we have today.
I'm asking, can you figure it out?
But we have parking issues at other places too. So just moving them somewhere may not alleviate the problem.
Think about it like in front of your house.
You go to the church parking and pay $800 for it now. Christy, I do see you have your hand up.
Yes. I was present when the presentation was given, and I'm concerned about having the exit not have rocks. Meaning there's about 8 rocks, maybe 5 rocks, but I couldn't move them if I wanted to. So if there was a disaster or something, we should be able to open a gate rather than drive over rocks if you're way into the parking lot. And I also agree that our recreation sites should have more parking. And he was talking about giving 14 parking places versus 10. And then I've heard that we actually own about 30 parking places. And he said, well, they're not certain places. We just make sure that those 10 or 14, they could park anywhere in the whole lot. So we're not even getting the 10 or 14. So that's a concern. We don't want to turn away our recreation people and have them not want to play on our fields because there's no parking. That's a concern of mine.
I agree.
But can we recommend that we get rid of the rocks and get the gate in as soon as possible for safety, for people being able to get out in an emergency?
My understanding is the drawing is with the fire department right now. And that they're looking to get feedback from the fire department. So I don't know what the process is after that. I could certainly reach out to Deke and ask him what the next steps will be.
I think it's the
And-
town. She's talking about on town property, right?
Yeah, town property.
Where are these rocks?
so if you know where we're talking about
Wait, one thing I-
opening up, right, at the end of the parking lot near Rosati's Field,
Right, right.
there is already an exit there in essence, but it's blocked because they put boulders there so that people won't, just
Right.
pull out onto the street
Right,
from there.
right.
So what she's saying is maybe we should get those out of there anyway, sooner rather than later, because if there's an emergency.
Yeah, I mean,
I
if,
see what you're saying.
if town council believes that safety is the number one thing, then you've got how many cars can be in there? And then we also have a revenue problem, and we do need to relook at that contract. So what it is annually, I think it was 10,000 a month or a year. It was something with 10,000. I just don't know if it's monthly or annually. That's what I remember. But safety is key for me. I don't want to be stuck in there. I don't think anyone wants to be stuck in there if an earthquake or a hazard happens that
For
causes
one, can you
fire.
drive from the parking lot onto the field? And it's pretty open field. You can move out there 30 cars, not having burn or anything. It
Oh.
would be a real emergency.
The answer to that question is yes. There's a gate you could drive up in.
Okay, so I'm not aware of what our, I'm not aware of what our options are with the rocks. If they're there because the fire department blocked it off or what, I don't know. So maybe what I can do is try and find out what is going on, at least with the exit way and maybe why it is the way it is.
I'd like to see it a gate and not rocks.
Yeah.
So
um,
I just want to make sure I understand. So the ASCC has approved the kitchen expansion, but that doesn't mean they've approved the parking. The parking is separate.
yes,
Okay.
I'm not sure. The ASCC was actually questioning whether parking was under their jurisdiction, for lack of a better word. I don't think it is.
That's the thing.
I think it's
I think they were
town
being,
public
they were
works.
being actually very good and nice about the fact that they said, okay, we have to approve this, but there's this issue. Maybe we should just check on the issue.
Right.
They checked on the issue. The answer is,
It's still an issue.
it's still an issue. We need to work it out. And
Yeah.
They were like, look, we're not going to hold it up for that.
Right. That's exactly what they said. Yes. Yeah. That's a good way of saying it.
So who owns the issue now? The parking issue.
I think it's up, it's attached to the lease, which is up for renewal.
It's the town staff.
Okay.
I think they've asked for our opinion because it affects the use of the field, right? I wouldn't call it a Parks and Rec ownership. Really step it up. But I mean, but
But they've
It's
reached
town
out to us
staff.
and asked for our feedback.
now this town staff, or somebody negotiated an agreement with Alpine Inn about the parking a while ago, and we didn't know anything about it. Right? We should revisit that. Right? They basically told them that sure, you can have basically all the parking. Right?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Effectively what happened.
Yeah, you don't give away your parking for your recreation. I know each car brings in a lot of money to the town, so maybe that's what's going on.
I think we're just trying to-
So I will try and find out as much as possible. Who owns it from a renegotiation standpoint, what the time frame is, what the contract is now.
And can we have some input into well, not into the negotiation, but the number of spots that are available for the VLU?
Let's put parking meters in. Town gets lots of money.
But actually, one thing that we did, I don't know if I could do it, but it'd be good to see the agreement. Right? What does it actually say?
I don't know, yeah, I don't know. It's top secret. I
Right?
have no idea.
And we know.
Actually, could you attach that so the public could see it too, to an agenda?
Christie, I'll find out what I can. Okay, I can't make that promise. I don't know who owns it. Okay, any other, if that's it? Any other items which we can't talk about?
I move we adjourn.
Second? In favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everybody.
Aye, aye, aye.
See you in May.
Sarah had her hand up. Did
Thank
you want to
you.
say something, Sarah?
No, that's okay. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you very much, guys. Thanks,
Okay.
Patty, for running that meeting.
Bye.
Bye.
Night.
Aye.